Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Photography Tips and Tricks, your show for gear tips, inspiration, and anything you need to get your photography over to the next level. My name is RC, and I wanted to share with you kind of a tip on how to be able to shoot nighttime with the use of flash. Right? It's very simple, very straightforward. A lot of the times when you're shooting at night, when you're working with night images, you'll work with something that a lot of the times when you expose for it, because of headlamp or because of light posts and things like that, the sodium vapor lights that you'll see there will tend to take everything and move everything into kind of an orange tone, right? So if you're shooting with just the regular light, that should be a pretty straightforward solution, right? You could just go ahead and just take your white balance, and rather than set it to, like, say, tungsten or cloudy or any of that stuff, I tend to take the white balance and I move it to a custom setting and then drop the white balance down, usually around 2500, 2600. The problem with that is that when you do that, right, so this is still normal, when you do that, you'll normalize for a lot of the stuff here and you get the colors here, but if you're introducing a flash, the flash will then fire extremely blue, right? So you're gonna need to be able to correct for that flash, right? You don't necessarily wanna have the entire scenario that's blue. You pop it with the flash, and then all of a sudden you're like, this doesn't look good. A lot of the times, what I use is these CTO sheets, and these we've talked about in an earlier show, right? I just build them. They don't necessarily look the best, but I don't really care. So I have a bunch of them Velcroed, and obviously on my flash, I have a series of Velcro spots on them. More often than not, it's just a question of just kind of moving them, attaching it to that, and now I have one color, right? So these are quarter cut CTOs. So quarter cut gives me a small amount. But I have these things double-sided with their Velcro so that I can attach more of them on top of one another. So now I've attached a second one on top of this, quarter plus a quarter. Now I have a half cut CTO. And I'll continue to do that, and then I'll have to adjust power to compensate. You can go stop, a full cut, cut and a quarter. And you're doing that to balance that light out. So the more you put in, you'll notice that from here to here, the light is not as blue on our face, right? So now we're gonna go ahead and add more to it. So I'll continue to add more and more of these, right? So adjust your white balance, bring it down really, really low so that the ambient light looks good, and then backfill most of that stuff by adding CTOs on top of your flash. When you normalize the two, you can get yourself a really, really good light. You'll have something that looks warm, you'll have something that looks pleasing, and you'll have all of that stuff kind of balanced. Now, if you look at this picture, you'll notice that the picture is a little bit out of focus, right? She looks great. The focus on the background looks completely different. How do we control that? And how do we work with that? That's what we'll talk about after the break. If you're watching this on YouTube, please go take a look over on the KelbyOne website. We're gonna talk a little bit about bokeh and how to be able to control blur with different types of lenses. And we can show you what a good amount of blur looks like and a great amount of blur. Make sure you stick around there.